Hey guys, welcome to episode 13 of the Lachi Molala Diaries. Today we have Sharanya, who is a journalist and heavily into K-dramas. Not Army yet, but we'll get there. We'll make her BTS Army, working on it. And we also have Tracy, who's a baby Army, who's also a former journalist and a writer. And again, super passionate about K-drama. So we are very excited to have both of you guys here today. And today we'll be discussing female leads in Korean dramas. Over to you, Chef, to start right away with the segments.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for talking about your love for K-dramas on Twitter, which is how we found you. So keep doing that.
Yes.
Let's start with our most aspirational female lead characters, or a female lead character that we thought had the most agency. We'll start with you, Sharanya.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me on this, and especially for this topic, which I think all K-drama fans have a lot of thoughts about. So I think I had two, and I kind of whittled that down from a list of some 7, 8. And so the first person on my list is Kang Dani from this K-drama called Romance is a Bonus Book. So this was the first ever K-drama I watched, and I think Netflix was just randomly showing the teaser, and I saw that it was set in a publishing house, and I just clicked on it. And then I was kind of blown away by the fact that the heroine was this, I think she was 37-year-old, and she was a divorced single mother who was trying to re-enter the workforce after a break. And I was like, wow, what is this content? I need more of this. And even the romance plot in it just felt really new and great to me, which is that there were these two very handsome young men, much younger than Kang Dani, who were in love with so I was like, I need to. Yeah, do you guys?
She has her favorites. Basically, she's just.
I cannot stand that the lead actor.
But we will not digress.
Not digress. But I hate him with passion.
Over to you.
Oh my God. Oh no.
I have no strong thoughts on him. I really liked him over here. So I think. All of these things just felt really new to me, and I had gone in without any preconceived notions of K-dramas. And I think Kang Dani was such a hardworking, spirited, optimistic character that I kind of fell in love with her character. And so I think she and Romance is a Bonus Book really set the bar very high for me in terms of just female leads. So she was like the natural first person to start my choices with. The second person that I choose is Chosera from Fight for My Way. Again, very sassy, ambitious, fiercely loyal to the people around her. And I think she's generally like, she's somebody that I could have watched even more episodes of, just because she was so unpredictable. And I think the hero Dongman is shown to be somebody who's much slower than her in his thought process and in his behavior. As the series progresses, I think sadly Dongman's ambitions are kind of given more preference over Chosera's, but even then I think till the end she remains really fierce and funny and unwilling to take any bullshit. So I think she was again the second person. So those were my two choices for two great female leads that everybody should watch.
And she's also a great combination of sassy and
She's just the right amount of cute. You know that it does.
And everybody over the edge knows what she's doing, but she's still like, I don't care.
Yeah.
What about you, Trace?
So unlike Sharanya, who had just 7, 8, I had about 20 people. So I have shortened it to 3. And I kept it to perhaps the most recent ones that, that really surprised me. So as we know, K-dramas, like you said, there are so many female leads who are aspirational, especially, for people who are from India, the kind of leads that we see in our serials and the ones that we see there. So it's really refreshing and, very inspiring. So I just chose the ones which were the most recent, the ones I loved the most recently. So one is, of course, Shin Hye-sun, who's, of course, in Mr. Queen. She was crazy, and for 90% of the time, she's actually a man. But for some reason, she never broke, character. She was so consistent. She was mad, crazy, and at the same time, it felt really real when she had that romance with the king. I don't know, she just pulled it off so well. It was just so much fun to watch her. The other one is, of course, Mr. Sunshine. It's one of my favorite dramas, and both the leads, in fact, not just the main lead, but even the second lead, Hinakudo, was awesome. They were really, really strong, feisty women, but very feminine and graceful at the same time. So it was a great combination to see the both of them. And the third one, I'm trying to race through because I just have so many of them. And the third one is, of course, from Hospital Playlist. John Meadow, who's, of course, Dr. Choi Sung-hwa. She was so, she's quite different, from the rest of them, of course. She was, on the other hand, she was just so calm, mature, just a very regular person, but just really grounded. And something about her was just very calming. And, it was a very different character that we actually see in K-dramas. And she was in a gang of like 4 other men, but she just held her own. And she was just, I don't know, it was just something very healing and calming about her. And I just loved her in that gang. It's also another one of my top 3 dramas. So I just love that. So yeah, these 3.
Wow.
Totally going to watch Hospital Playlist right after.
Yes, you must.
There's something
these
about
actually.
medical dramas which I'm not really fond of. So I started watching
I
Hospital
was the
Playlist
same
and I gave up
thing.
episodes. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I should get back on it.
Also, the episodes are really long, but then something about it is just like you can just pause anywhere, restart. That's just the beauty of Hospital Playlist. You guys should
Dramas
watch
in
it.
general. That's how I watch
I
K-dramas.
actually like
Pause
medical
anywhere.
dramas. I don't know why. The whole technicalities of it all, I think that is something that I really dig. But yeah, all of these are dramas that are on my must-watch list, and now even more so. What about you, Shoots? Aspirational or female leads with agency?
For me, it's mostly these, like I've spoken about these characters and these shows in the past so many times. So for instance, all these powerful women who are very, career oriented and dress very fashionably and just like walk into a room and just know like they own the room and their opinion matters, right? So all the 3 female leads from Search WWW, like all those 3 in terms of fashion, in terms of their thoughts, their career, and just their their passion for work and what they standing their ground. They are like very aspirational. I also want to throw light on Song Hye-kyo's character in Encounter, where she is, for once, you see a female CEO in a K-drama. It's usually a male CEO. So I was very excited at the prospect of a female CEO in a K-drama owning the chain of hotels or something hospitality related, right? So, and she's hiring people and she's, hiring and firing people. So it was really nice to see a female CEO in a K-drama. And that was...
One more reason apart from Park Bogum to watch Encounter then.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if Park Bogum is not reason enough.
I think I'm like, yes, we exist. 1% of the world's population that is not a fan of Park Bogum. But
it's okay, shit happens.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was tolerable after Reply 1988, but we'll pass.
Even I'm not that big a fan.
Yeah, Tracy.
I think
but that could also be an age thing. I prefer the older actors, so that could also be an age thing. So, I mean, he's sweet and all that, but yeah.
I think at some point I'd like an episode where Shruti tells us who she likes, because
many people. No, the list is long. I like a lot of
that's for a different episode.
Yeah, different episode. So just these 2 shows and these 2 female characters. What about you, Chef?
Okay, so an aspirational female lead for me is Kim Go-eun from Goblin. And when we were discussing these answers, Shoots was like, why? And I recently revisited Goblin for another episode that we did on, some of these like supernatural rom-coms. So we discussed Goblin and The King. And this time when I was rewatching, I completely fell in love with her because I could notice things beyond the plot because I already knew what was going to happen. So I was more invested in the characters and their growth. And it was really endearing to me how, grateful this person is for everything that has happened in her life. Even though there is so much that was taken away from her right when she was a child, yet at every point when she's making a decision and either Lee Dong Wook or the nephew or anybody else, they would ask, why are you doing this? And she'd just say, it's fine, I've just had a very great time. I'm really grateful that I had these guys in my life and I've had this kind of life. And I think that's very aspirational for me, that even after so much being taken away from you, you can be grateful for what you got right till the end. One character who I thought had the most agency amongst the whole lot was the female lead from One Spring Night. Right from the time that she just tells him that I feel a certain way and I can't even I'm standing outside your house and it's just very difficult for her to articulate what she's going through, and yet she wants to sort of go ahead with the go with her heart as opposed to the whole what will people say. And the way she breaks up with the guy also, not having any shame at all, and the way she talks about, okay, so are we just fuck buddies now, are we just going to have sex and not have any kind of a chemistry? I found that she was able to talk about a lot of tough subjects without feeling any kind of shame. And right till the end, when she's like, okay, if you're not going to say yes to us marrying, we will still continue to see each other. And that whole process that they do towards the end, where they've got that promissory note on the fridge, I think it all just reflects the confidence that she had in her decisions throughout. So yeah, those are my picks. Moving on from aspirational to something that is not so. Any female leads that may have disturbed you, triggered something, or leads that you felt kind of lost their agency somewhere midway. Again, starting with you, Sharanya.
So surprisingly, this was a segment that I really had to struggle to find people for, which I was like, why? I mean, K-dramas are full of these leads. Then I realized that that's because I usually drop dramas if I don't like the female lead, if I can't connect with her at all. So annoying is one thing, but you have to have some redeeming quality. Mm-hmm. So I think if I had actually managed to stick with Boys Over Flowers, Gum Jandi would have been top of this list.
Yes.
but I actually dropped it after a few episodes because I was not taken.
That was a good call.
Yeah. So I really wanted to. I was like, it's a cult drama. I should watch it, but I couldn't. So the person I've picked is Ohani from another cult drama called Playful Kiss, which a fellow K-drama fan, a friend, recommended to me. And I actually enjoyed the drama. It's really trashy, but it's quite enjoyable. And I think this picture that Shruti just shared kind of illustrates my problem with this drama, which is that it's a full wish fulfillment.
Shruti, you have your notes on it as well.
Oh, sorry. Crap.
Like all the suspense is gone now.
Damn it.
We know all your answers.
I was once again, the picture that triggered the problems that I had with the drama, so I didn't notice the note.
Yeah.
So Ohani is the schoolgirl when the drama begins, and it's a wish fulfillment fantasy. So of course she falls in love with her schoolmate, who's this cold asshole, and pretty much all she does through the drama is stalk him. And so it's I think Jung So-min is so good at acting that you actually end up connecting with Ohani, and you really feel like sitting her down and telling her it's okay to fall in love, but also focus on yourself a little more. And I think a lot of us would end up connecting with Ohani quite a lot because she would remind us of our own embarrassing times in school and college, and first love, etc. But but I think the saddest part is that there's always a possibility that you reach a point where you can look back and kind of laugh at yourself or even cringe, thinking, why was I doing all of that? But the drama kind of puts a hard stop to that, because these two kids who are barely out of their teens get married at the end of the drama, and that their relationship is going to follow the same pattern where he's really cold and kind of going to look down upon her a little, and So I thought that was such a waste of such a well acted character, which had so much more potential than what that limited space offered her. So I think, yeah, poor Rohani is my choice for this segment.
Good one.
I completely concur. What about you, Tracy?
So the first character is actually someone that actually had quite a cult following, and that's Yiso in Itaewon Class. Yes, she was bright and young and feisty and all of that, which we love seeing in K-drama female leads, second leads, anywhere as friends or whatever. We love those characters. But something about her, the fact that they portrayed her, and they did call her as well on the show, that she was this sociopath. And for some reason, I didn't see any redeeming quality as she moved on in the story. And also we do know that Itaewon Class kind of wrapped up the show really quickly, right? In the last 2 episodes, like suddenly, I mean, if you haven't watched it, sorry, but the last 2 episodes, sorry, I'm so sorry. So they wrap it up really quickly, okay? And some people were happy about it, but I didn't see that growth that which would have been possible, considering that she's a really good actress. I've watched in a few other movies as well, and she's good at it, and she did portray it really well. But somehow, I don't know, this just I don't know, just little things about her. It was just the rudeness, the brashness was a little too much for me to take. And there was no redeeming arc eventually, which was pretty unsatisfactory. The second one is also another new drama. I don't know if you guys have watched it. It's Luca, the Beginning. Lee Da-hee, who's also, she's also this, Lee Da-hee's in it. And this was quite a different role for her. And I was really excited because she's like sans makeup and, all of that. And she was like this tough cop and everything. So I was really looking forward to it. And it started off really well. But somehow she just made one bad, it was like a series of bad, decisions. And it just went, I don't know where it went eventually. Like, I'm still lost. Like, I still can't believe I wasted my time on that. So yeah.
And this is
on
Viki,
had great hopes.
or is it on Netflix as well?
It's on Viki. For India, at least, it's on Viki. So yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I had great hopes. Maybe that is why. Also, there are some things also. You really. Hello, Record of Youth. So
My God.
Oh God, yes.
That show was
Let's not
cancelled.
go there. Let's not go there.
But you expect
sentiments
things
were
out of
hurt.
it, and it just fell flat, really bad for me. So yeah, these 2 characters, recent ones. Yeah.
What about you, Shruti?
For me, it's all these actors and just shows in general where they make the female very, the female character very obsessed with their looks in order to impress a guy. So, for instance, Oh My Venus, she's trying to lose weight to get back at her ex. Weightlifting Fairy, she's trying to become feminine and go on that diet plan even though she's super skinny to impress a guy. She was pretty. She literally was so freaking pretty, but again, straightens her hair and does these stupid things to impress a guy. Which else? Like, I don't know, the list is long. Even that one. My ID is Gangnam Beauty. Again, losing weight, getting plastic surgery to impress a guy. So all these shows where they make the female character so obsessed with working on themselves just to, be what society expects you to be and just to impress a freaking guy. It's just very disturbing, annoying. And Chef and I were talking about this, that it's also triggering in a way because we are, what did you say? You put it really well, Chef. I don't think
never felt the need to, do anything to impress somebody, which is why I think it's also not fair for us to judge them. And which is why it's disturbing because you as a woman do not want to see a woman doing this to impress a man.
Especially for that.
And I think that's why it bothers us that why do women have to do this? We don't want to do this. I don't mind, decking up if I like it. I don't want to do it because somebody else likes it.
Yeah.
I think Also, maybe like a learning process that some of these characters go through. Like I think with weightlifting fairy, like I think the doctor was like her first love, and she kind of like, I think it's a process that she goes through. So with some dramas, I would say that I don't mind it if the character herself comes to the realization that she doesn't need to do this, because then you're
Yeah,
showing.
I think that's the same with Oh My Venus. I don't know, Shruti, if you finished it eventually or
I
if you
haven't
end up
finished it.
dropping it.
It's been a while though. I know what you're talking
I don't know.
about. Like,
Somehow I felt, eventually they do focus on the why you need to lose weight. I mean, just to being healthy, and it's not just her. Even the man, even the male lead is quite health obsessed, and and it's a lot to do with having a healthy body as well. And eventually,
but that's the thing, right? She didn't do that. She did that because she broke up with her boyfriend and she was trying to get back at him, revenge. So if you're trying to lose weight to be healthy, I get it. I'm all up for it. But you're doing it for getting revenge at a guy, and like that's very
correct.
I think the motivating factor is the problem, which is why I said, if we want to, if we are doing it for ourselves, because I have done this, right? Like I didn't like my natural curls, so I rebonded my hair for 6 years straight. And then, my then boyfriend, now husband, was used to my straightened hair at the time. And I remember once he had actually, I think one of the very few times that he commented or complimented me on my appearance, because he knew I don't like being complimented on the appearance, because it just like, I mean, to me, it feels like, okay, is that, all that you see? So he used to be very wary of complimenting me. He told me that, but that is the only thing he had complimented me on, that, your hair looks beautiful. And then I went, embraced my natural curls. And then he never said I like it. And I was okay with that because I liked it. And I think that's a journey that we all go through. And like you mentioned, right, some of these characters go through that journey, and then there is something redeeming. When there is no redemption, and when you give up because you're tired,
when the show itself makes you feel that they were right to go on that journey, then you're like, this is not what I signed up.
Then you feel cheated. You feel like you're shortchanged. You're again telling me that I have to change something in me because of somebody else. And I guess so for me also, I guess, there were a lot of, like on this one, there were a lot of characters that I could think of. I would just mention one, and that is something that Shruti reminded me of, because so Missing, which is a series that is very close to Shruti's heart, I actually fast forwarded a lot of parts. Because I couldn't take it. Like some of the trauma and injustice, I just can't take it. So if I have the option, I will just fast forward that, and I cannot. I don't want to watch too much, traumatic stuff. But I realized now, in hindsight, that the only parts I was invested in were the woman's parts, and is there some justice happening there? And there wasn't. Like she finally gives in and says that I will actually be submissive, I will actually whatever, pick up their litter and their coffee mugs, and do the odd jobs in the donkey's work, all the Photoshop and Xerox and everything that they want me to do, which is way below my pay grade, just so that I can be accepted in that team. It's for the benefit of whoever has not watched this show. So Missing is all about corporate culture, and it's set. It's very triggering. In general, that show is very triggering.
It's on my list, but
my top 3 shows.
I haven't got to it yet.
I would say
it's very. It's also it's triggering, but it's also very evocative. Like it makes you really feel for the character, that there is just so much stuff that she's going through. It's not funny. So I think that to me was very triggering, because somewhere or the other, you've met characters like that she meets in her workplace, who will completely undermine your existence just because you're a woman, and who think any sort of misbehavior is okay because you are not going to speak up. And she actually never speaks up. Throughout the course of the show, I keep waiting for an outburst, and it just never happens. And I think, and she just makes peace with it, and then things somehow get better. And one of her supervisors finally, discovers that he has a conscience, which just feels like, again, as an audience, I just felt really cheated, because I wanted her to punch at least one of them. And that didn't happen. So yeah, very triggering, very disturbing, no agency. I really hope they don't do that to any character going forward, even if they just want to show you that this is the harsh reality, that, you know, people are, you know, like that. I would actually want them to show that no, people can fight, so that somebody takes away a better message from this. Speaking of better messages, characters who have actually been able to do that, who have evolved over the course of the show, starting with you, Sharanya.
So I think Shruti would disagree, but the first person on my list was actually Kim Hae-jin from She Was Pretty.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I thought about it because there is that problematic physical makeover that happens. But the reason I finally included her on the list is because by the end of the show, she kind of reverts to what she looked at in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think there's a very obvious change in her, which is that she's so much more confident of herself and her talents. And I think the general inner beauty and generosity that she had been displaying from the beginning of the series, I think all of that begins reflecting on her physical self. So there is this glow to her that doesn't come from makeup, etc. So that's the reason why I included her. And I think one of my favorite scenes in She Was Pretty is when Kim Hae-jin is complaining to her friend about the fact that, you know, she can't understand the terminology that the people at her fashion magazine use. And her friend, instead of sympathizing with her, kind of calls her out saying, but you've never put in the work to understand what they do. And Hae-jin, I think, kind of takes it on the chin and actually begins putting in that work. And I think that is when her moment of transformation started for me in the drama, not when the man fell in love with her. So I think that drama, actually, I really enjoyed just seeing her transform into a much better self. So that is on my list. The second person is Pionari from this drama called Jealousy Incarnate, or Don't Dare to Dream. It's a very underrated and also a very strange drama. So I would recommend it with caution. I like it, but it branches off into so many different subplots in very, very unexpected directions. So approach it with caution. I really like it. So when we first meet Pionari, she's this weather forecaster at a very big news organization, and she's this complete doormat. Her colleagues just treat her like dirt and they walk all over her, and she has to do all of the menial tasks. But we see, like, the viewer gets to see that there are these very beautiful moments of dignity that come out in some scenes here and there, and we know that she's kind of putting up with this because she needs the money. And she is ambitious. She just doesn't know how to go about it. And it's a very long, painful, quite humiliating process at times, but she does reach there. She does reach a point where she kind of gains her colleagues' admiration and respect. And she reaches a place where she's much happier with herself without losing, I think, the qualities that make her a very unique character. So Pionari was again a natural choice for this for me.
Nice.
Yeah, makes sense.
What about you, Faiz?
So, again, a lot of growth characters in K-drama, which is, which is awesome. But for me, So Ye-ji, her character as Ko Mun-young in It's Okay to Not Be Okay. So yeah, I mean, everyone fell in love with her. Like, her first shot itself is like, oh my God, how can you not love her? I mean, she's in that awesome outfit. She's got this awesome makeup on. She looks hot. Looks a little crazy, with that little kid there. All sorts of things happening. She's hot, glamorous, everything. She's a badass. She's doing her own thing. But again, she also, like Yiso in Itaewon Class, is said to be, somebody who's a sociopath, and she doesn't care what people think about her, and she just goes about her thing. But I think through the show, and in fact, yes, the first 2 episodes, you kind of fall in love with her. But after that, once she starts stalking the male lead, and she goes in when he's changing, and she does a lot of things which, if a male lead was doing, we would totally hate him. So I had a big problem with her after that, and it took me a while. But really, I mean, kudos to the actress, of course, to pull off a role which otherwise, at least I'm sure 3 or 4 years back, this would have been a second lead. Like, she would have been the bitch who's trying to get the guy, like, she would have never been the main. She would have never been the main female lead. That's the kind of character she was. But, she pulled it off so well. She had these really soft moments with both the brothers. Again, in that, there were these 2 fantastic male actors, and both of them, of course, they just fed off each other, and it was just a great trio. And towards the end, you really see her. She's still pretty much, she's true to her character, but you have seen that, the edges have been polished a bit, and, she's gotten softer. And something about her, it was just really, it was just really heartwarming to watch her journey. And they also ended it really well. It's one of the best endings for me, finale-wise as well.
That we're going to keep for another episode. The ending.
Yeah.
It's a different episode.
Seriously,
altogether.
it's really one of the best. Anyone out there watching right now, please, and if you haven't watched the show, seriously, it's one of the best endings.
Yeah, you have to. But right now, I have to move to shoots because we're running out of time.
For me, the most evolved character was Bora from Reply 1988. She was just a mean person for no reason in the start. She was horrible to her own sister. She would beat her up, bully her, and do chugli of her to her parents for no reason, just an asshole older sister. And I felt that so badly because I hope my sister's not watching this, but my older sister would bully me for no reason, just complain and just make me fall in trouble for no reason. And I'm just like, why? What are you getting out of it?
Wait.
So I just
Mimi is going to watch this, shoots.
Yeah, I hated her as a sister and as a character at the start, but again, towards the end of the show, she became a better person. She became softer and she became more understanding, and she finally showed emotions of that she actually does like Doksana, her sister, and she wants good things to happen to her sister. So I was like, yes, okay, finally, not all older siblings are assholes. So that for me was the most evolved female character I saw. And Chef, you?
Neither is Shruti's sister. She is also a very nice person, just for the record, Mimi. Shruti loves her.
Sure. No, I love her.
Okay, I have in my most evolved characters is an Ajumma from Dear My Friends, Namunhi, who plays Moon Jong-ha. And I always, find reasons to sort of talk about Dear My Friends and characters from this show, because this is my favorite show of all time. She is a woman who, there are flashbacks where you see that what kind of a life she has gone through because of her husband. She goes through a miscarriage because of her husband, among several other things. And she's had a very toxic, abusive marriage. And, how she's basically suffered through all of that in silence and kept on laughing through the whole journey. And then comes a point where she's done and she's fed up and she will not take shit anymore. And after that, this is when she's 60 plus, and then she decides, okay, now I'm going to live my life on my own terms. I'm going to be happy. She chooses happiness and her friends, and eventually everything else comes around. It's fine. But I think her, finally taking that decision, no matter at what age, that to me is like true evolution, where whenever it, like how they say in Hindi, right? Jab jago tabhi savera, like whenever you feel is the right time, you start anew then. So that's my pick. Now the last rapid fire round. Who among the female leads would you date, and just explain why in single line? And who would you do friendship with, Sharanya?
Okay. Date Sangdokmi from Her Private Life, because it's Park Min Young and the character is an art gallery curator and a committed fangirl. Reason enough. Friendship would be with the two leads of Oh My Ghost, Nabong Sun and Shin Sune, because they're just so cute together. And whenever they get together and plot something, the screen just lights up. I would love to be their friends.
Nice.
What about you, Trace? I loved
try to think
Park
about
Min Young's
date, and there was
dresses
just
in Her Bright Life.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
It's okay. So date, I just had too many of them, and it would sound too wrong if I had too many of them to talk about. So I'll just stick to the friendships, like who I would love to be friends with.
Now I'm curious, who all do you want to date, Trace?
Some of them are already on this list, okay, that we've talked about. So but friends, both the leads in Goblin. Like you said, Jiyuntak, I mean, she had a maturity despite her age, which was just so lovable and warm. And Sunny, I mean, hello, she was just I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I'd love to be friends with her. And
Love
very quickly, yeah, and very quickly in Vincenzo, of course, Hong Cha Young. I mean, come on, like,
Ooh,
I mean, hello.
she is hot.
I mean, if any guy breaks my heart, I want her on my side because, dude, we're gonna go get that guy. I mean, she'll come up with the worst ideas, but they'll be just kick-ass. So yeah, I want her on my side. So yeah, these three, yeah.
For me, I want to date Seo Hoon Jin. I've realized more than her character, I just love her as an actress. So I am biased that way. Whatever character she plays, I just fall in love with her. So yeah, I want to date her from Temperature of Love, from Let's Eat 1 and 2, from Inner Beauty. Joby character, any character she's playing, I want to date her because I just love her. And friendship-wise, I just love the friendships, the female friendships from Be Melodramatic, all three of them. Like they're just always there for each other, there to back up with their, shitty ideas. Like, yeah, like if you have a crap idea, I support you, boo. I'll make it worse for you. I just love that bonding. So definitely I want to be friends with all three of them and be part of that gang. And Chef, what about you?
So definitely going on a date with the female lead from It's Okay to Not Be Okay, just because she's so hot, man. I've not felt. I remember telling a guy friend of mine saying, "Please watch this show. The girl is so hot. I've never felt this attracted to a woman in my life." And when the guy said I didn't feel it, I actually liked the second woman lead better. I was hurt. It's personally hurt.
What?
So her friendship with Scarlett from Search WW, because who doesn't want a friend who will take a baseball bat to beat a guy's car down and break it down in front of his eyes? I want a friend like that.
Hello.
Because I already have a friend like that. Yes. So clearly I have a type.
You have a type. Okay, awesome. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Right on time, we have about like 1 minute left. So thank you so much once again, ladies, for joining us. This was a blast and a great recap of all the shows we loved and hated in the past, and definitely want to do a recap of. So yes, guys, thank you once again for joining this episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and let us know in the comments below which other topic you want us to cover. And thank you, ladies. Shaf,
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.